Good morning. I'm John Bitson, the Menard Family Director of the Sheila and Robert Challey Institute for Global Innovation and Growth. This morning, I'd like to introduce you to Josh Marineau. Josh is an Associate Professor of Management at ndsu and a Faculty Fellow in the Challey Institute. Welcome, Josh.
Very glad to be here. Thanks, John.
Yeah, it's great to have you. You have a lot of very interesting research related to the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Fargo-Moorhead. What kinds of questions do you aim to tackle with your research?
Great question. Broadly speaking, I'm interested in how ecosystems develop and grow to create entrepreneurs, to create new business. Specifically, I've been looking at the ecosystem here in the Fargo-Moorhead area because it's right in our back door, almost literally.
Right.
And the questions we're asking are, how are people connected within these ecosystems in order to be involved and have influence, and what makes for a healthy, thriving entrepreneurial startup community?
Yeah, excellent. And I think it's a great place to research these issues because Fargo-Moorhead is known as having a pretty vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem. And I think it's really a lot of people across the country are looking to Fargo and saying, well, what are they doing well and what can we learn from what's going on? Your research is obviously important. Could you talk a little bit about some of the impacts that your research has on society?
Well, thanks, John. Appreciate that. Well, we are interested in how people are connected. And specifically, we've been looking a lot about gender differences in terms of how female entrepreneurial males are connected within the ecosystem. We're finding some discrepancies, which I think are important, looking forward and how to get people more connected within ecosystems, because without connection, entrepreneurs are not going to be able to thrive and do what they want to do. And so understanding those connections or barriers to how people are collaborating or working together is very important, and I think has more long-standing implications for just having a successful society, even at the local level.
Yeah, excellent. And as I mentioned, Fargo has a lot of good things going on, but there's ways that we can improve the connections as well, and you're working on those issues. Are there additional questions that you'd like to ask in your future research?
Yeah, so we're interested in a couple things. When I say we, because I have a couple research partners that I work with. I'm very interested in how people think about things and how they view the world, specifically the social world. So what goes on in their minds when they think about the ecosystem in terms of who's connected to whom, how people are related to each other. So my research outside of this entrepreneurial research looks at how people understand the social networks. So how good or how bad they are at recollecting who are friends, who are working together. And I am looking at the same topic in the ecosystem to understand whether entrepreneurs are better able to discern the relationships among other people than non-entrepreneurs. So that's one area that I find very interesting. It's much more at the micro level. I'm also interested in how people think about, in terms of culture, what the culture is in the minds of people, how they think about what is entrepreneurship, what makes for a successful entrepreneur. And so we've done some research examining those things. Looking further down the line, I've been looking at how the COVID pandemic, much as a lot of people have been concerned about, has affected the way that entrepreneurs are behaving, like what they're able to do, not do, have they been more innovative or less. And some of the research I found is actually it's been in some ways very beneficial to some entrepreneurs because they've made a more concerted effort to be connected to others and more concerted effort to try to improve their situation and pivot and change. Others, not so much. So it's interesting to see how that has played out. We're still working on that research right now.
Yeah, interesting. And you talked about how the pandemic has influenced entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs have also led the way in many cases, right, in terms of coming up with solutions to get out of this situation that we're in the pandemic.
Oh, absolutely. And the ones that I've talked to were faced with some daunting challenges, specifically during the lockdown, because you could imagine businesses, they were in dire straits. And many of the entrepreneurs I've talked to who were affected directly by the lockdown really had to think hard about what they wanted to do. Some of them changed their business models completely. Others took time basically to reassess and to think about how they want to move forward. So it's had a tremendous effect, and a lot of them have innovated in amazing ways, in ways that they've actually continued on after the lockdown and throughout the pandemic. They've found new markets and new products.
Oh, this is fascinating research. I appreciate you sitting down and talking to me about it today, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you find out in the future.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.